Hi friends, Lisa here. Welcome back to my channel. If you're new here, welcome. Today I'm sharing with you an Easter card that I created, and I introduced a new technique that I've never used before, and that's ink embossing with embossing folders. Now I've had a few ink embossing folders before, and I actually purchased some more not long ago, but I've never actually used them. Which is a shame because I know that there are quite a few techniques that you can do with embossing folders. So anyway, this is my first trial with them, and I hope you enjoy the video. The embossing folder that I'm using is called Sunburst from Sunny Studio. To ensure that I get a good ink blend, I decided to use Bristol Smooth card. So I pop the paper into the embossing folder and run it through my die cut machine, and wow, talk about a gorgeous effect that it leaves on the card. To create my panel, I use the MFT A2 stitch rectangle stacks, can't even say that, a mouthful. It's the MFT A2 stitch rectangle stack set 1, and I actually took the largest die and I cut the embossed background with my die cutting machine. Please excuse my fingers because I must admit I did try out this technique before I started this video, and as you can see I made a huge mess over my fingers with lots and lots of ink, but I must admit it was fun. Now the fun really starts. I grabbed my Scattered Straw Distress ink and I wiped the ink pad over the background using like a gentle swiping motion. And I made sure that I was going one direction, going from the middle to the outside of the background. Now I was just going to do individual embossed parts of the background, but I was making, well, with my first example that I was talking about earlier, I did make a huge mess and it didn't look that fantastic. And also I did use 2 different colour distress inks, but it sort of worked out okay, but I needed more practice with it. So this time around with this card, I decided to just use one coloured ink pad. So while swiping the ink pad against the background, I slowly turned the panel around so that I could cover the whole background without getting a lot of ink on my fingers. But if I were you, I would actually use some scratch paper so that you don't get much ink on your fingers. When you finish doing that, don't forget to wipe down your work area because trust me, from my previous experience, I got all the ink on the back of my other card. So total disaster. So don't just use a baby wipe or a paper towel just to wipe the ink off your work area. Using the MFT A2 dies, I used the third from the largest die and cut some white cardstock. Then I got the MFT A2 dies again and got 4th from the largest, and using Lawn Fawn Sunflower cardstock, I die cut another layer. For my images, I decided to use Pretty Pink Posh Bunny Friends stamp set. Absolutely adorable and cute and awesome to work with. I coloured them previously in another video using my Copic markers, and I'll link that video at the top of the screen so that you can go and check it out after this video. I die cut the images with Pretty Pink Posh coordinating dies for the Bunny Friends stamp set and using washi tape to secure them in place before I put them through my die cut machine. After I die cut the images, I decided I was going to use my scissors and do a little surgery by cutting just the egg shapes from the image. This is so that I could actually assemble them with the bunnies separately later on. Using my black Copic 100 marker, I then used it to colour the white core paper that was showing through after I cut them with my scissors. And this just gives a little final detail that makes a huge difference to the final product of the eggs. Now it came time to create the sentiment for my card. So I used the Lawn Fawn Happy Easter stamp set and decided to heat emboss it. And of course, I decided to use anti-static powder to make sure that the embossing powder didn't go everywhere. And of course, I used heaps and made a pretty big mess. After using the Versamark watermark ink pad, I then heat embossed with Ranger Super White embossing powder and then heat set the sentiment. Now it came time to adhere the emboss panel to the actual card base. Now I found it pretty hard to stick it down, so what I did do was use a book to add some weight to it to help it stick down a lot better and flatter as well. And yes, of course, I'm a Game of Thrones fan. I grabbed the other panels and glued those together as well and adhered those to the card base. That way it created a few layers to the actual card. To add a little sparkle to my eggs and flowers, I decided to use a clear wink of Stella marker to give it that little final touch of sparkle. I adhered the eggs to the two bunnies and I had to snip off his ear to make sure that the egg would actually fit properly. Otherwise, it would have had the ear sticking out of the egg and would look pretty odd. Next, I added some phone tabs. They're pretty old, so I had to use glue as well to ensure that they stuck down properly. But they did the job and gave the cards a little bit of extra dimension. Then I adhered the flowers and just made sure that I had them in the right place according to how I wanted them. I use the Embossing white pen to add some extra details, especially some dots on the eggs, just to create a little bit more interest, and also use the pen to create some highlights on the images. To add a little bit more interest as well to the card and also some extra dimension, I use the Nouveau Crystal drops in the Simply White colour. It takes a while. Well, it's taken me a while to get used to the Crystal Nouveau drops, because every time I use them, I end up having a peak on top of the actual drops themselves. But with a little bit of research on YouTube and finding out how to use them correctly, I did end up being able to make sure that they didn't have peaks on them this time. After adding the Crystal Nouveau drops, my card was finished and complete. I quite like it. I think it's really cute. And also it gave me a chance to use some yellow, actually focus on the colour yellow for this card, which I've never done before. And inking up the embossed folder was absolute blast. I loved it and highly recommend giving it a go. I think it's another awesome way to be able to create a background without having to use pattern paper. Just creates a lot more interest to the card and very simple to do. Well, that's my finished card for today. I hope you enjoyed this video, and if you did enjoy it, please give it a thumbs up because it does help out my channel. And like I said, if you're new here, then please feel free to subscribe. I'd love for you to be a regular visitor to my channel and to see a few comments from you so that I can pay back the visit. Thanks so much for watching. Hope you come back soon. Don't forget to hit that notification bell when you subscribe so that you can be alerted of any new videos I have coming up, which I think you're going to like the next one. It's actually going to be for a Father's Day card. So hit that subscribe button. I'll see you soon, and take care and stay safe, hey, during this horrible time with the COVID virus. Please stay safe, stay inside, and thank you to all the nurses and all the medical staff and the doctors that are helping us all get through this stressful time. And here are a few other videos that you may like to watch. Take care. Bye.